Welcome to Doctrine and Devotion. It's a podcast that explores Christian faith and practice from a Reformed Baptist perspective. My name is Joe Thorne. I'm the lead pastor of Redeemer Fellowship in St. Charles, Illinois.
And I'm Jim Fowler, executive pastor at Redeemer Fellowship.
Sun's out.
That's right.
Yeah, man. It's warming up finally.
It's supposed to be in the 50s today.
Yeah. It's going to be the warmest, I think, on Thursday. So Jen and I are planning a little outing of some sort.
Wait, you're going to go outside?
Mm-hmm.
You?
Yeah.
Outside?
Outdoors. I suggested a park with some hills.
What?
Yeah.
You?
Yeah. Why not?
All right. What park are you going?
I don't know the names of the parks.
All right. Where's it about?
I don't know.
You haven't picked one yet.
There's just one in mind that we've taken the family to before. It's got a big hill. I used to run it when I was a runner. I don't know. Okay. It's like it's westish. I don't know. I don't know what it's called.
All right. Okay.
It's like it's not far from Elburn, but it's not the one right outside of Elburn. So I'm not even sure how to get there. I'll have to ask Jen about it. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's been years.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
So, we used to go to the dog park more when we just had one dog and we lived close to a good dog park. But, I'll do that. So, yeah, man, sun's out. It's going to be a warmer week. Feeling pretty good.
Yeah, it's going to be nice.
I was back in the pulpit today.
Yeah.
It was been a couple weeks.
Yeah, back in black.
I was kind of back in gray. I got
back in gray. Black. That's gray.
Yeah.
It's a little dark. It's gray.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
back in gray.
Yeah, we had a bird flying around the sanctuary. That wasn't distracting at all.
Yeah. Just the sign of the Holy Spirit upon us.
I don't know.
With us.
The sign of the spirit of the air distracting people from the word. That's what that was. Goodness sakes. Word. So yeah, no, it was good. It was good to be back in there. Man, looking forward to this week.
Yeah.
A lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to?
Just honestly, the regular work. I haven't even looked at my calendar to see what meetings I have. I know there's one I want to schedule. I'm looking forward to having, and mostly it's just the normal routine. I've got prep for a couple of different things I got to do in terms of teaching and preaching. That'll be fun. My normal meetings that I have all the time with like Pat or you or Brian or whatever. I'm just looking forward to a regular week. This last week was weird because Jen was gone. She was out of town.
Yeah, you were not flustered, but I could tell you're just like...
I was all over, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was just out of the norm for you.
Well, the water heater went out. I had to stay home one day and get the new water heater put in.
And then you made dinner. You made chili for everybody.
I did.
Yeah. You took care of chili.
Made chili.
From scratch.
Yeah, it was from scratch.
Like there was no chili, and then there was.
Yeah.
Scratch.
Yep.
Out of scratch.
So that was, we had a good time. So yeah, Jen was gone visiting family, and then now she's back. And the week before that, we had a week off. So yeah, I'm just excited to get back into a regular. I like it.
Yeah, that's good.
What about you? What are you doing this week?
Yeah, my routine is pretty set, Same old.
All right. No trips to Italy yet? Spain? Nowhere? England?
Yeah, maybe.
Amsterdam?
Not this week.
Okay, good.
Not this upcoming week.
Good. Keep me posted.
Probably a couple months.
All right.
May into June.
All right.
So I'll probably leave, go do a number of meetings, and then I'll just meet you in California.
Yeah, okay. All right, for the SBC.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Yep, I'll be there. I know. I got my tickets. I got my hotels.
Good.
My rooms. What do you have? You got your tickets? You got your plane tickets and your...
I got the hotel.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you sure you did?
Yeah, well, yeah, Deb got it for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
But your flights?
No, I forgot. I was supposed to do it, and then I took that week off, and then this week was a mess, and she asked me at the end of this week, and I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot. So
you're going to be in boarding group 12.
Yeah. What are we going to do? I'm not worried about it. Hey, we should answer some emails.
Let's do it.
All right. We got 3. And they're all kind of related to stuff we've talked about in the past. Most of them are anyways.
Okay. We
got the Deconstruction first. This guy Josh wrote in. He's like, hey guys, I love the podcast, and it is the only Christian podcast I listen to religiously.
Ba-dum-bum.
He says, I thought your podcast on deconstructing our faith a couple of weeks ago was good. And as usual, well balanced and fair. There was a little bit of me that felt something was off, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. Listening to another podcast at the moment, I pick and choose this one due to reasons. And he made a point that made me go, that's it. I think the issue was with the language. While I agree with your take on how deconstruction can be helpful, I think the better wording is sanctification. And if you said this and I may have missed it, sorry. Hope this is clear. Thanks for your time, Josh. P.S. Well, we all know what it says in the P.S. I don't need to say it, do I, Jimmy?
So then just move on.
Yeah. So here's what we were trying to say. First of all, the word deconstruction, like whatever, like some people don't like the word, but our point was that people that are talking about and going through various kinds of deconstruction, because there are different kinds, that it doesn't mean abandoning the faith, though it oftentimes leads to abandoning the faith. What it does mean is that you tear apart your belief system, examine it, and decide whether or not it holds up. That's the basic idea. And so it can be, it can wind up being a part of a retrieval of biblical Christianity.
Think of the examples we used, right? Like for you was your time at, was it not your time at Moody? Was it like just the dispensationalism kind of working through that? For me, it was early on, just kind of working through unhealthy and ultra charismatic tendencies.
And it wasn't, we didn't call it deconstructing, and our purpose wasn't to abandon, but we needed to lay it all out and see what makes sense.
Yes.
It's a kind of a reformation, and you alluded to Luther kind of doing this same thing, And so again, people, it's always front loaded with meaning for people when they talk about the word. And so for us, we're just trying to talk about it, talk about what people are saying about it and how to better think through it. So deconstruction isn't, I don't think it's the right word, but it's the word that people are using. So we got to talk about what that is, and we could apply better words. I wouldn't say sanctification, because sanctification is the work of the Spirit whereby we are changed. Though the way we're talking about deconstruction, you could say that, well, in the process of sanctification, we may go through a period of deconstruction or evaluate. Maybe just evaluation is a better word, or restudy. I haven't really thought about what a better word would be, which might be a good idea. But yeah, it certainly can lead to sanctification because you wind up dismissing unbiblical categories and ideas.
Yeah, as you're growing in your faith, as you're growing in your knowledge of God, who He is, what He has done, as you're studying the Scriptures, it's natural that then you're kind of reconciling, hey, wait a second, I've said and believed these things, yet Scripture says this.
Yeah, people go from, people study and they wind up, when somebody goes from Credo Baptist to Paedo Baptist, or vice versa. When somebody goes from Arminian to Calvinist, or vice versa. When that happens, they usually, wind up getting there. They say, well, no, I went back, I laid it all out, I studied it, I evaluated everything. In other words, I deconstructed my current worldview, and then I saw what goes back together, and you wound up in a different place. So that's what it is.
Yeah, oftentimes we celebrate it when they come to quote unquote our side.
Right. Yeah.
We're like, oh, that was fantastic. Look at how they've grown.
That's how you deconstruct. You deconstruct to reconstruct. But you're definitely right in talking about like that. There needs to be a positive aspect to it, a reconstructing or rebuilding, or otherwise it is just destruction.
Yeah.
If you pull everything apart but don't put it back together, that's destruction. You're disassembling it and leaving it. It's no longer useful. All right. What else we got?
Let's see. Here we go. Racism in the SBC. Jared, here we go. He says,
it can only be Jared.
It can only be Jared. Hey, boys.
Hey, boys. Hey, boys. Snap back to 1928.
Long-time listener, see? I appreciate your take on the ERLC's initiative. I have a few concerns I wanted to make known to hopefully be a help or simply another perspective. I know that it's foolish to say there are no racists in the SBC, but one question I wanted to ask you guys. Are we only thinking of white people as those who are capable of racism, or are we thinking of all people? Secondly, I appreciate you guys objectively looking at things on both ends. However, it seems to me that your criticisms of the ERLC's initiative was pale in comparison to the CBN's. I have a bone to pick with both of them, but honestly, that stood out to me here. I know we can't rule out bias in our opinions, but I wanted to offer this just as a listener giving feedback for whatever it's worth. And Jared, you're worth it.
And I'll tell you what, Jared, we totally respect and appreciate your stupid view.
Stop.
Really. It's like we respect dumb ideas and dumb people. No, seriously, this is how you disagree.
This is how you disagree.
Jared is a model.
That's
like, hey, listen, I didn't like this.
Yep.
But I still like you.
Yeah.
That's fine.
But then here's why.
Yeah. Yep.
It wasn't just like this blanket. That was wrong.
Yeah. Oh, so white people can't be racist. I'm out.
Bye.
Okay. So Jared doesn't do that. Jared articulates himself well. He has a kind spirit. Jared, we appreciate you.
Thank you, bro.
All right. So let's see. That second paragraph. Okay. Obviously, there are racists in the SBC. Okay. Are we only thinking of white people as those who are capable of racism, or are we thinking of all people? To me, that's sort of beside the point. Again, in any particular context, you can talk about it in your own churches. So I don't think that the racial reconciliation Sunday was targeting a particular view of this, but yeah, there are different opinions on it, right? We've talked about this. Some people define racism more narrowly so that it only applies to majority race
power holders,
right? So if they have power in the culture, they can be racist because they define racism as not just a prejudice against another people, but the ability to subjugate them in some way. Whereas, more traditionally, more broadly, racism has been understood to be, it is simply a prejudice against another race, thinking that your race is superior or better and that another race is inferior. So depending on how you define it, now I would say, personally, I would say anybody can be racist. I don't personally hold the view that racism always involves a political or a socio-political power dynamic. The problem, though, is, so I would say I think anybody can be racist. But the problem is in America, the dominant form of racism has been characterized by power holders. So that is still a relevant conversation to have. And that's why it winds up being such a big part of the conversation. But in terms of that, that doesn't change things for me. Even because I've talked to people that hold to that view and they say, well, I think that's racism. I define racism this way. And I would say, okay, so can a minority be prejudiced and cruel and dismissive of another race who is in power? And they said, well, yes. Like, okay. So at that point, it's a little bit of semantics, I think. It's like, okay, so I don't want to argue about words. I want to argue about the ideas. That's sort of where I fall into that. You have any thoughts on that part of it, Jim, before we move on to this next part? Because I can see your wheels turning.
Yeah, my wheels are turning because you said on the at the beginning there, it's like maybe like this is beside the point, and I don't know if it is, because the ERLC and like the initiative was, I feel like that was targeted towards white racism. I don't think it was like let's have a racial reconciliation Sunday in the broadest sense of the terms, right? Like, or broadest sense of the term. I think it was based off, I think it was targeting one particular group.
Yeah, but see, my thought was, go ahead.
And because I think this is where I think we're going to agree, is it was targeting that group. That's what I'm saying, because that has been the situation in the
right.
SBC.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. Is like, my take is that it's not like, oh, they're targeting that group as much as it is they're dealing with this reality. This is the reality. So in a sense, yeah, I guess it's targeting, but it's not to dismiss other forms. It's like, this is the dominant form that has been in this culture.
It just didn't address the other form.
Right. And even like, we got, it's not in here. We got a couple of emails about this. Somebody was upset that, they were saying that it's America's original sin. Well, first of all, that's not from that author. That's been said before. That's and again, it's not arguing for it's not a theological argument when they say that. They're in a sense waxing poetic to say that it's the original sin. They just meant like this was an early dominant sin in the formation of our country, which it was. That's slavery was. So yeah. And then the other thing that you brought up was, your criticisms of the ERLC's initiative pale. I didn't have any criticisms of the initiative. I'll be honest. I don't object to it. It's fine if they want to have a racial reconciliation Sunday and do that thing. I think that's fine. Your church can choose to use it or not.
And I think that's what we tried saying is we ignore all the other ones. The majority of us kind of pick and choose. You want to be part of it, then be part of it. If you don't, then don't.
Yeah,
no one's forcing you to be part of it.
Don't have a problem with it. And so yeah, it was the SBC executive committee that was pushing it out on Twitter. That's what got all the play, though it was the ERLC's initiative. So yeah, again, I don't agree with everything that the ERLC has said or what Russ Moore had said or done. But in general, I like the ERLC. At least historically, I certainly have. But yeah, I have more concerns about the CBN, if I'm honest. In terms of what they're going for versus what people.
Help clarify that then, right? Because I think that's important.
Yeah.
How is it with the ERLC? It's not. I don't think it's a pass. I think that's an unfair assessment of your take on it, right? I don't think you're giving them a pass. It's been the same thing that's been going on since what, 94? Like they've been having this racial reconciliation Sunday for how long?
Since the 60s.
Since the 60s, sorry. Since the 60s. So,
but it's not even that. It's like, but people have problems with the ERLC because, different figureheads at different times have said different things. Now, some people look at the ERLC and they are saying that they are pushing towards a different perspective on morality, ethics, race, that they're adopting critical race theory and things like this. I simply don't buy that. It doesn't mean that people in the ERLC aren't to varying degrees sympathetic to critical race theory. But I don't buy a lot of the accusations that are made against them based on what I've seen. But
then CBN,
CBN. I'm only dealing with what my objection to them has largely been, sort of the tenor and the approach. To what they're doing.
Tone police.
Yeah. I guess that's maybe it's more than that, right? They seem to me to be a bit more, those involved seem to be a bit accusatory, right? The whole, listen, man, you've got to really have your ducks in a row, to make an accusation against somebody. So I'm uncomfortable with some of what I've seen from the CBN, at least certainly from people associated with it. So yeah, I'm uncomfortable with sort of their posture towards the SBC, their take on the SBC. They think the SBC is in liberal drift. I don't buy that. I think by and large, the SBC is pretty much where it's been for most of its life. There have been some changes over the years, and I think it's the people that ultimately do have control. And so some of what's going on with the CBN, I find less than encouraging. I could put it that way. But we would have to do I don't want to do a deep dive on CBN. Oh my gosh, I don't think anybody cares that much. But yeah, man, we appreciate you, Jared, and even though you spell your name weird, and yeah, man, blessings to you. We all have a lot to learn here. I certainly do.
Ooh, last one.
Goodness sakes.
Are you ready for this one?
Yeah, we got some requests.
Hi, McCarthy and Grace Community Church. Hey guys, I know you've discussed some of Julie Roy's reporting in the past. If you have considered covering her latest piece on John MacArthur, I'd like to let you know how much I'd appreciate hearing your thoughts on it. My parents have spent many years at GCC and have been deeply formed by his teaching. I have some reservations about accepting everything Roy's reports, but your accusations are very serious here, and they involve several people my family knew from our time at GCC. It also seems to fit with many personal accounts I have heard of abuse coming from this particular church and its teaching. I think accusations like this should be taken seriously, but know that slander and miscommunication are just as serious. I am struggling to process the implications of this report. If this report is correct, I plan to speak with my parents and pastors about it, but thought I would put a word into you both in case you feel led to discuss the topic on a podcast. I think many listeners, myself included, would benefit or could benefit here from your wisdom in how to think through these things and resources to either confirm or deny the validity of what this reporting claims.
Well done, Jimmy. And yeah, nice. This was sent to us via email from a listener who is a musician. I believe they teach. Okay, so let's just say this. We know some of you love Julie Roys and you think she's a prophet, and other of you hate Julie Roys and you think she's a demon. We just think she's a reporter. I think sometimes she gets it wrong and sometimes she gets it right, like most people.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, here's what we're not going to do. We're
yeah. Let's lay out. Okay. Let's lay out the ground rules.
Okay. Ground rules.
Rule number 1.
Don't talk about Fight Club.
Yeah.
No, because that's what it is.
Right. That's it. Yeah. Rule number 2.
I don't know. What is it?
You don't talk about Fight Club.
That's the same one, isn't it? It's been a while. Okay. So we're not going to assume everything in the article is truth, right? Is gospel truth. It's presented that way. We should give people the benefit of the doubt and all that. So, but there are some things that clearly are, like, we know that Dr. Moeller admits. He said, he wrote this defense for GCC. So we can talk about that. This woman was excommunicated and publicly so.
Publicly twice, yeah.
Yeah, so like we could talk about that. And we'll talk about all of it. But let's just put it this way. What is described in the article, we'll talk about what's described in the article and what we think about that. And so if it did happen, you'll know what our thoughts. And if it didn't happen, then, we're just talking about it.
Yeah. What we don't know is, did it actually happen?
Yeah. I mean, in all of the ways that
the ways that it's laid out.
It looks like it did. I mean, it looks pretty verifiable, but like, again, I don't know. But here's the thing. Even if this didn't happen exactly as it's presented at Grace, it does happen. This stuff, just like it's spelled out, has happened at many other churches.
Threefold, ministry of reconciliation or whatever they call it there.
Yeah.
What do they call that? Threefold forgiveness thing?
Yeah. Yeah. The whole, like, not caring for people that have been really harmed by their spouse and
trying to force people to go back to their abusers
when they have grounds to separate, or even divorce.
A divorce. Yeah. Or not reporting. Not reporting to the authorities. That happens.
That wasn't even that long ago, bro. This wasn't like 85.
No.
It was 85. It'd be like, it was 1985, man. They're like, people were crazy.
Yeah. 2000.
Yeah.
2.
It's like, that's
20 years ago.
Oh, man. That was not that long ago.
No. Yeah. And then really just kind of covering up.
So yeah, what we want to do is we'll talk about the things that are said, the concepts, the report. So yeah, again, we just want you guys to know we don't know everything that did or didn't actually happen.
But let's take it though and look at it.
Let me say this. I'm gonna say something.
Oh.
Okay. I don't know. You might not agree with this.
All right, here we go.
Okay. Believe all women. Remember that?
Oh, I remember that.
Okay. And a lot of us were like, all right, first of all, believe when you say it like that, it doesn't really leave room for investigation or anything.
It means guilty until proven.
That's what we mean. But here's the thing. In general, when people come forward with abuse allegations, in general, they're true.
I take the accusation seriously.
Yeah. And I would even say, like, listen, if your kid came up to you and they said, hey, my teacher hurt me, if you know your kid, if it's your kid, more than likely you're going to think like, oh wow, this sounds like it happened. In other words, you're taking them at their word. I'm going to go investigate now. Yep. You still have to investigate. You still have to find out, and then you find out like, oh, that actually it didn't happen the way that they thought it happened. So I do. How do you say it? Right? How do you say it? Do you believe people when they make an accusation, or do you just take it seriously? Because I find like, well, if I say I take it seriously, they're not a lot of people aren't satisfied with that.
Yeah.
But then if I say, well, I believe you, but I still have to investigate, then people are like, well, then how are you believing them? Well, it's because, well, I'm taking them at their word as far as I can. It's an imperfect and awkward way to talk about it. So when somebody comes and they says, hey, man, this is what happened to me. Jimmy and I would both say we take that very seriously. But I'm inclined to take them at their word as far as I can while we look into it. So if somebody were to come to us in the church and say this happened, I think we respond in that way. All right. So this is back in 2002, and this woman has, by all accounts, an admittedly abusive husband.
I mean, what do you mean? What do you mean by all accounts? Like what we read, or what he is in jail for or in prison for?
No, even before he went to prison, he admitted.
Yes.
He was an admitted. There was no debate about him being abusive for those who had the facts, and it looks like she had the facts, church had the facts. Like this guy was.
And the people that had reviewed the facts or refused to review the facts.
Yeah, some of them didn't. Yeah, they didn't want to press into it,
even though they were in charge of looking, investigating it.
So I guess I would say this: when a spouse is in crisis and the church leadership is brought in, it's the church's responsibility to help in every way possible. Mm-hmm. If there is abuse, it's got to be reported.
Yeah.
And we don't say this. This is not theoretical for us.
No. Yeah, this is practical.
This is what we do. This is what we had to do. This is what we do. And there has never been a time when we didn't, when we were supposed to. And that doesn't make us heroes. Mm-hmm. That's just what you're supposed to do.
Citizen. You're a citizen.
Yeah. You don't have to be a Christian to do this. You just have to be responsible.
Humane.
Yeah. This is a bad thing that happened. We got to deal with it now. And yes, we don't do it because it's the law. It is the law, but we do it because it needs to be done.
Yeah.
So the idea that this stuff wasn't even reported is concerning.
Yeah, and so when again, we don't know all the facts, but one of the facts is a couple of the people were cited by I think it was the LA prosecutor's office, or at least the LAPD, for not reporting it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Ultimately,
for mishandling and not reporting what they should have reported.
Yeah, and so then there was Dr. Moeller was roped into this and asked to write a paper.
All right, let's spend some time on this, because
this is weird, right?
This is really weird.
I like Mo. I call him Mo.
You call him Mo?
Yeah, Mo. When Moore was there, I'd combine them, call him Momo.
Momo?
Yeah,
these were the Momo.
There was Moeller and Moore. I call him Momo.
Oh goodness.
I did. But anyway, so it says that Dr. Al Mohler, president of the Southern Baptist Seminary, current World Magazine opinion editor, confirmed to the Roy's report that he wrote a paper for Hardy's defense in 2004 at Grace Community Church's request. The paper argued that Hardy should be exempt from reporting Gray's abuse based on religious freedom, an argument Mohler said he would not make today. Okay, that last part is the only part that makes sense. The last part is the only part that makes sense. Jimmy, help me understand. How.
Let's go through this mental gymnastics.
Okay,
let's try to do
this. Math. You're good at math.
We're going to try to do this math. Here we go.
All right. So, husband's abusive. Mm-hmm. He's physically, mentally abusing his wife.
Yep.
And we come to find out he was abusing his kids physically and more. Mm-hmm. We learn later. Church knows.
Church leadership knows.
They
counselors there know.
They're legally supposed to report it.
Yeah, and this is an individual that has a teaching contract.
Yep. And he doesn't. And so Mohler's like, yeah, that's right. He didn't have to.
It's religious freedom. That's a religious freedom of speech.
What's funny is, remember, just like not too long ago, MacArthur said that religious freedom is like a satanic idea. He was like this whole thing. Anyway, so on what grounds does religious freedom, the freedom to exercise your religion, allow you to disobey law and to not protect people that are at risk? You're the math guy. Show me am I not carrying the one?
Listen, it does not add up. It does not add up. What it really was Mohler was protecting his friend. His friend asked him, hey man, I need you to write something because you're outside of this situation and you've got a bit of pull. You've got some pull and people listen to you. I need you to write something about how this is really an issue of religious freedom of speech and that we don't have to.
So that's your theory. That's your working theory.
That's a pretty good working theory.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just saying like that we don't have, he could have legitimately held that view. That could have been his view, and he's just asked
one that he would not hold today.
Yes. So yeah, the whole.
But hold on, but even that though, Al, you're telling me, Mo, you telling me back then you legitimately, wholeheartedly held the view that the church is not responsible because of religious freedom of speech to report abuse to the authorities.
Yeah.
I mean, you're telling me so.
And this,
now,
by the way,
hold on. Now I got to ask Mo, how many cases of abuse, or how many cases? What happened over at Southern? If you held that belief then, what is it that could have transpired there that you believed? Hold on, my religious freedom of speech, our religious freedom of speech, we did not have to report anything to the authorities.
Yeah, it's not even a theoretical argument. Like like sometimes people write a white paper. It's an abstract. It's not directly applied to any current situation. He wrote a paper in light of a specific current situation where somebody actually was abused, and he was like,
"Did you write this for Paige Patterson too?"
Dude, it's just.
But no, I mean, come on. Like there, right there is the living out of what you are writing and saying. Back then, I believed this.
Yeah, I know. I can't listen. And let's listen. We all have made mistakes. We all hold bad views, and they change over time, and we praise God for that. But man, in this kind of a situation, I'm hoping that he comes out and says, "I was woefully, sinfully wrong in this, and I am repenting." And it's really rough.
How much damage?
Yeah.
Did that abstract? How much damage did that paper do? Honestly,
yeah.
How much cover did that give to those abusing and covering up the abuse?
Yeah, I mean,
how much cover did you provide for them, Al Mohler?
It emboldens people.
Yeah, look, Al Mohler says this is religious freedom of speech, and I'm protected. I don't have to report this.
And again, I like to try to understand. You know, one of the things I like about good movies is they help you to understand the villain, right? And I'm not saying that he's a villain here or anything like that, or that MacArthur's a villain. I'm just saying, like, you understand the motivations of the antagonist. So why would somebody not want to report it in the best possible light? Why would they not want to report it? Because they want to be able to deal with it. They're convinced that their spiritual healing can come about. Bringing in law is just going to complicate things. It's not going to help. So in the best possible framework, I think people are ignorant in thinking that they can handle this on their own. They're misguided in thinking that bringing in authorities that God has established, by the way, for justice. I think they're misguided in thinking they don't need to bring them in. So I think they're wrong. I think it's dangerous, and I do ultimately think it's evil. But that doesn't mean that their motives are always evil in themselves,
or that this encompasses like everything that he's ever believed and done.
Right.
It doesn't throw out like all the good that a Mohler or a MacArthur has done.
Exactly. So this is a prop. Okay, so
but you can throw it. You can throw out everything for Paige.
Listen,
let's just turn that page. That was good. Dang
it. No, it was. And I was going to take it farther, and then I decided to let it go.
All right.
But just a heads up, if Jared Wilson was like, "Hey man, I got something brewing over here. Would you write a paper?" The answer is no. Right now, I don't care what's going on. No, I'm not involved. I'm not writing a paper. Not that anybody would want a paper from the JOFO, but
no. And Jared Wilson would never ask.
No. But I'm just saying, like, you want me to step into your mess? And like, you know what? If I'm not involved, I would have to know everything. I would have to be way in. And then the answer's still probably going to be no. I don't know. Don't ask. Okay, so let's go back to this thing. So a husband is abusing his wife, and the elders find out about it. And it looks like the accusation is that they weren't really taking her accusations all that seriously.
I mean, some of the language used by people that had been sent was, "Is this just being exaggerated?"
Yeah. But the farther they go, the more it does become evident. And so, I guess a couple of things. Church discipline cases are always painful and awkward. They're always difficult. And in the best case scenarios, it takes time and people do heal up. But sometimes things get really difficult. People are impenitent and things can get really hard. And sometimes leadership botches it big time.
Yes.
We've seen it happen in Acts 29.
Yep.
We've seen it happen in the SBC. We've seen it happen in every conceivable denomination where some sort of discipline is practiced, where you wind up for whatever your motives are. I'm not really concerned about that. whatever your motives are, so you wind up hurting somebody that you're supposed to be caring for.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be defending. You're supposed to be assisting. And I have seen it now in a few, we both have seen this in a few different cases where the abusive husband or the pedophilic husband or whatever says he's repentant and now is getting care. And the wife is like, I'm out. This is too much. She comes under discipline or she comes under charges because she's not willing to reconcile with a guy who broke the marriage covenant. And this is really problematic, and it gets into a bunch of issues, but we'll just keep it simple. If you don't believe that divorce is permissible for anything other than adultery, and you're going to push church discipline on someone who is divorcing their spouse for something other than sexual immorality, you're going to wind up in some pretty tough situations where you're going to wind up doing more harm than good. And I'm not saying you should excuse all divorces, but our take, and you can listen to us on divorce, we've talked about it. The scripture seems to give parameters for divorce that go beyond just sexual immorality. And we have gone so far as to say, if you're laying hands on your spouse, you are breaking the marriage covenant. If you abandon your spouse, you've broken the marriage covenant. Obviously, if you're unfaithful, you've broken the marriage covenant. There are grounds for divorce, and I believe this woman had grounds for divorce.
Yeah.
But even if she didn't, and she wants to separate from him, they seem to be going after her pretty hard early on because she doesn't want to reconcile right away, or she doesn't want to.
No, because I mean, from what it says, and again, we're only taking it at what it says.
Yeah.
He quickly admitted to them and repented.
Yeah.
And so was counseled by one of the pastors there. I think it was Greg Hardy. Carrie Hardy. Counseled Eileen to forgive David, quote, even if he wasn't repentant. And she testified about this, that he would teach me over and over the threefold promise of forgiveness, where you act as though it never happened, you never bring it up again, and you never tell anyone about it.
Okay, those three things are not a part of forgiveness.
No, they're part of living in darkness.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's let us not bring this to light. Let us not deal with this.
Act as if it never happened?
Act as if it never happened.
Okay, first of all, that's not what you do.
No.
To forgive somebody means you're not constantly charging them with it and holding it over their head and punishing them for it. Okay, that's one thing. But yeah, listen, we've had to counsel people through this. That you bear scars. You're going to remember, and it's going to impact your relationship. And in some ways forever, and in some ways for a period of time. But you don't act as if it didn't happen. In fact, you act as if it did happen, and that way, if there is reconciliation, wow, look at the love, look at the reconciliation. We overcame this thing that happened. I'm not charging you with it, but I'm not acting like it never happened.
Yeah.
We acknowledge that it happened,
Yep.
and now hopefully you can be stronger for it if you are able to pursue reconciliation. And you never bring it up? Okay, there's a difference between charging somebody
Yep.
and then it coming up because you have to talk through things.
Yeah.
Especially in these early
something
stages.
like this.
It takes time to work through that, man.
Yeah.
People got to talk it out.
I'm still talking through the time that Michelle.
Yeah? What'd she do?
She made me shave my beard.
What?
I know.
I don't even want
to. She made me
I
shave
don't
it.
even want to look at her face right
Listen.
Did you make her shave her mustache? That would have been fair.
I can't. It was 2006. And it was
before you got here.
It was a balmy day. And I just said, "Oh, look at my beard." And she said, "You must cut it now."
Did you have a full beard or the goatee at that point? That was goatee, wasn't it?
It was the goatee.
Yeah. And then you probably grew the beard after that.
No.
Really?
No.
Back to the goatee?
Back to the goatee.
Oh my gosh.
Back to the goatee.
I would say shave the goatee.
Well, no, I'm
Yeah.
still trying to forgive her.
Okay.
I'm still trying to, but she told me, Jimmy, listen, we act as though it never happened. You never bring it up again,
and
you never tell anybody about it.
Anybody. Now, and I get what they're saying. Like, listen, private business is private business.
Okay, but yeah, private business. But like all resources and training on how to recognize abuse of some sort there's always the sense of don't ever tell anybody about it.
Oh yeah.
Don't ever tell anyone what just happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super controlling, dark, twisted, and this is a part of the problem when people who aren't real counselors try to function like counselors. And it's like, oh, they're trying to function as overlords in a sense. It's really hyper controlling. As pastors, we shepherd, we teach, we exhort, we rebuke, we reprove, all of that. But this is, I mean, that if that happened, that's super controlling and unhealthy. Not good at all. And when it comes to what MacArthur said about this woman at a public service, when excommunication, when church discipline has to go to the point of excommunication, there is a public element to it. Now we do that at a members meeting. We do it on a Sunday morning where everybody's there. We would do it at a members meeting, which are essentially open to the public, but those are really at a different time, and it's just for members. Or regulars, it's for people. So yes, you do have to talk about church discipline when it gets to the public stage, and you're as clear as you need to be. You want to be transparent, and you say, "Here's what's going on. This person is being removed from the fellowship." The problem, though, in this case, is if things happen the way that this article says, she had no business being under discipline, and certainly no business being excommunicated.
No, and the thing, like. Again, I want to be as delicate as possible in this. So we're talking about what are the things I'd like to see, right? One, I would like to see Moeller, apologize,
address this.
Yes. I think that's helpful. I think it's healing, probably. I think it gave cover, or it potentially could have given cover to others and other churches and institutions. I think that needs to be addressed. I do hope that the church, Grace, would look at this and seriously investigate this and see what happened. Because my gut tells me Pastor John, made the announcement, but Pastor John was not part of the process.
That's my guess. And that's oftentimes the guess.
That's often, and I think that's a fair guess.
Yep.
That he an individual, Hardy, and I think another person, Shannon, were part of this process. They may know, they mishandled it.
Yeah.
And what they reported to the leadership was not facts.
Yeah.
Was not helpful, was not healthy. And I think those two bear quite a bit of responsibility in the midst of this.
Oh, yeah. The bulk of it, yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, they want to just kind of go at Grace, or they want to go at John and say, "Oh, look at John. Look, I don't think he was part of this. I think they were reporting to him, and based off the reporting,
he's still responsible as the senior pastor there. He bears responsibility, but you just have to recognize that even though he bears a responsibility, that doesn't mean that he's at fault for the things that happen in those counseling sessions."
Correct.
And again, listen,
even what was reported to him, he's taking them at what they say to him.
But listen, you can make the argument like, well, didn't he create that culture? Perhaps, yes, all of that's fine. But we're just, it's easy to demonize people.
Especially when you already want to demonize them.
It's like, look, I have issues with, a lot of the things that John MacArthur says these days. I understand the temptation to be like, oh yeah, that guy, this is great. Let's rejoice in this juicy thing. Like, we don't want to do that.
No, I want to look at, Hardy in his current, pastorate position.
Yeah, it's definitely a concern. Now, here's the thing. At the Village Church, they had a church discipline situation where a woman who shouldn't have been put through what she was put through went through something like this. It's not the same thing, but it's, similar enough. And it was mishandled horribly, and they wound up really hurting her. And a situation, as I understand it, is Matt Chandler was not actually involved in the discipline process, but only knew about it from a distance, because it's a large church. But once everything came out and was cleared up, he offered a very public apology about the situation, admitted it was wrong and sinful, and said they're going to do better. That's the only thing you can do at this point in hindsight. Yeah. The reason I bring that up is because one of the things that this woman asked in the email is like, so if this stuff proves to be true, how are we supposed to think about this church? And I would say in my years of following Jesus and being a part of various churches and seeing many leaders fall and churches disappoint, I would say if you love Grace Community Church for all that they're about, and you see this as a particularly heinous problem, you have to decide, is this so big of a problem that I really can't be connected to the church anymore? Or can you say, like, you know what, I can handle this, and more than likely you would only be able to handle it if they were to admit, if it's proven to be true, we were wrong, if we're sorry, and we're willing to move in a better direction. But what I've found is that there have been so many leaders that I've personally known, mentors of mine, who have failed miserably. Some of them to the point where they have to leave ministry, others to the point where they've just wreaked a lot of havoc. And it's really discouraging. It's really disappointing. It doesn't mean that all that they've done is bad. It doesn't eliminate the work of God through them. And in a situation like this, if your folks, here's my caution would be, if you're very pro Grace Community Church, don't let your support for them allow you to ignore the problems. You want to be able to go, hey, this is messed up. This is not good. And deal with it honestly and fairly, and then make wise decisions. But the temptation to demonize is no stronger than the temptation to justify.
Yeah.
It's like people want to, like, no, this is all just, Julie Royce has an axe to grind. Listen, I don't care if somebody has an axe to grind, if they hate somebody. If the facts are the facts, then that's all I really care about at that point. And again, we don't know, so we'll have to wait and see how this shakes out. But it's really not anything that, like, we're super jazzed about. We saw it pop up and we were like, ooh, this is the kind of thing we've seen before. So it doesn't surprise us.
Yeah.
And not because it's at Grace. It just doesn't surprise us because we've seen it. This sort of thing happens. It happens in small churches and it happens in big churches. But I would say, just be thoughtful, be patient, and be supportive. And you know what? You can forgive people. You can't force forgiveness. And you can forgive people, and that doesn't always mean you can have a level of reconciliation that allows you to have the relationship you had before, even when it comes to your relationship with the church. So, yeah, John MacArthur's done great things, and he said some things that we don't like. But I mean, goodness, we say things that people don't like
all the time.
What are you going to do? But this is serious enough to warrant, I think, a careful, prayerful sort of analysis and patience. Let's not jump to conclusions. Maybe just be patient, especially if it's not your business. It's not our business. Yeah. So be patient, be chill, but be thoughtful.
Well, we'd love to hear your thoughts. You could follow us online on Instagram and Twitter @DocandDevo, or on Facebook /Doctrine and Devotion. You can head to the website, drdevotion.com. There you can contact us. You can sign up for the email blast or hit the store, jofostore.com, and grab some gear. We got that fresh pot every Monday and Thursday. We got blog posts and video content over at the website. And we've got that all-access exclusive content. Banter of Truth on Tuesdays, Weekday Wisdom Monday through Friday. Head on over to drdevotion.com /all-access to sign up today. Later.